Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. I want to talk more about this Halloween TV show news today because the first video that I'd done about it was just the announcement and what they were going to go with next. And I feel like I want to talk about the casting again. Now, I did talk about the casting previously, about who would be cast as specific characters. And although I don't have any specific actors or actresses in mind, I do have some ideas that I want to talk about. And what I would like to know from you guys is your ideas as well of who you think should be cast and what characters should also appear in this TV show. Now, the news was that they might be delving into certain characters that they haven't explored much in the first Halloween film. That could be completely redoing what they've done in the original movie, or just using the original as a springboard like David Gordon Green did with his trilogy. Now, I don't know how I'd feel about them doing the exact same thing again, doing what David Gordon Green done and use the original as the platform and then do a sequel to that. I'm not too sure that that's the way they should or will go. I think maybe they'll take the original idea, use some of the ideas in there and implement it into their TV show. So you could be looking at a TV show without Laurie Strode. Maybe they're going to go back to 1963 where Laurie Strode didn't even exist. Now, of course, she existed in the story because she was in 1978, but maybe they're going to use 1963 as a platform, and maybe only characters that we'll see from the original movie is Judith, Michael Myers and their parents. That could be what they use. So I think maybe that's where they're going to go. Now, I think personally, you can't have a Halloween without Dr. Loomis, because Dr. Loomis does make the film. So with those four characters, the Myers family, maybe we could implement Dr. Loomis in that as well. So we've got a tight-knit family, or possibly not, and then they've got a doctor, Dr. Loomis, and maybe that's where the story can go. We don't need to have Annie, we don't need to have Laurie, we don't need to have Linda or Bob or anybody else, Tommy, Lindsay, any of those characters. We don't need to have those characters because those character stories have already been told, and they've also got themselves little sequels as well, with like Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends and stuff. So these characters have already been explored, and they want to go into characters that haven't really been explored. Now, of course, we've explored Dr. Loomis, of course, we've explored Michael Myers, but we haven't really went into Judith Myers. We haven't really went into their parents as well. When it comes to Michael Myers, I'm hoping that we do get the 6-year-old Michael for a little bit in the story, whether that be part of the story where it's set at that moment in time, or they could do flashbacks. So maybe set it in the late 70s, the early 80s, and then do flashbacks to the 60s when he was just a child. However, I don't think we should really get a famous person to become Michael Myers. I think that's a little bit silly. You could maybe use Aaron Armstrong as an adult Michael Myers, because he played a good adult Michael Myers in David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy. So you've got really good ideas for someone to be cast as an adult Michael Myers, but we're not going to see his face anyway, at least I hope not. So I don't think the casting for a specific person to play Michael Myers is too important. As long as they get the move of Michael Myers right, then I think that's okay. So someone like Aaron Armstrong, then I think he would play a good young Michael Myers as an adult. Now, yes, of course you could use James Jude Courtney again, but he's too old to play a Michael Myers who would be in his 20s, hopefully, in this series. So an older version of Michael, I don't think would work. So someone like Aaron Armstrong, then I think that might be a little bit better. Who would play the young Michael Myers? I actually don't know, because I don't know young actors anyway, and you don't want a famous young actor to play Michael Myers because they don't want to really be associated with a specific character anyway, especially at a young age. So I don't think the casting of Michael Myers in terms of a famous person is that important. When it comes to Dr. Loomis, I've only ever had two people in mind. Well, I actually only had one person in mind for a good 15 years, and then another person came up a couple of years ago. Now, my first choice, as always, is always going to be Richard Schiff as Dr. Loomis, because I think Richard Schiff has got the look of a Dr. Loomis, an original Dr. Loomis, but at the same time, as you know, Richard Schiff is an outstanding actor, fantastic actor. Everything that he's been unbelievable. So I think Richard Schiff is still my number one choice. However, time catches up on us all. Richard Schiff was born in 1955, so he's going to be 70 next year when this show comes out. if the show comes out in 2025. So a 70-year-old Dr. Loomis is probably prime. But at the same time, you've got Dr. Loomis in the original film, who was in his late 50s, played by Donald Pleasance. So I don't know if that time has already passed for someone like Richard Schiff. And it's the same with my second choice, Liam Cunningham. He was born in 1961. So Liam Cunningham is also kind of pushing there. He's coming up for, well, he will be 64 when the show comes out. Is 64 also too old to play Michael Myers? To play Dr. Loomis. I don't think it's too old if you want an older, mature Dr. Loomis. But if you want a Dr. Loomis that might last a good few seasons, I don't know. So those are still my first two choices. I don't have any younger person in mind to play Dr. Loomis because I always see Dr. Loomis as an older, mature person. And even though Donald Pleasance was like 58 or so at the time, I seen him as a person in his 70s anyway. I don't know why, but I just seen him as an older, mature doctor. But then you don't really want a doctor almost coming up for 70 years old because by that point they would have retired, I guess. So maybe they could look a little bit younger than they actually are in real life. But still, Richard Schiff and then Liam Cunningham, those are my two choices for Dr. Loomis. When it comes to Judith Myers, she's supposed to be played by, say, a 16-year-old because that's the age of Judith Myers. But again, I don't know any 16-year-old actresses because that's not the type of films that I watch. So I can't really do casting for somebody like Judith Myers because I just don't know anyone. Now, I do see people online saying maybe Sydney Sweeney should play her, or Jenna Ortega. These actresses don't stay the same age forever. I think when you look at someone like Sydney Sweeney, I think people think that she's still 16 years old, and she's not. She's in her mid-20s, and she's hitting 30 as well at some point. So at some point, these actresses can't play young teenagers anymore because it looks too obvious. Now, Sydney Sweeney played a teenager in Madame Web, and look how that worked out. So I don't think someone like her should be playing a teenager. We saw it back in the day when we were younger, watching adults almost hitting 30 years old playing teenagers, and we laugh about it today. And I think it's the same thing today. If someone who's almost 30 years old plays a teenager, you would look at them going, well, they're obviously not a teenager, so it's not realistic enough. And I think a lot of people want more realism in TV shows and movies these days. So casting someone who's 10, 15 years older than someone that they're supposed to be, it just wouldn't work. So I don't think a big level actress like Sydney Sweeney should be playing someone like Judith Myers. So I think as a 16, 17-year-old person, I think it should be someone round about that age, maybe hitting 20, say, they could play Judith Myers. But I don't want anyone too famous. I think the most famous person should be Dr. Loomis, and that's why someone like Richard Schiff or Liam Cunningham, notable actors, should be playing someone like Dr. Loomis. But when it comes to Judith Myers and Michael Myers, unknown actors are the best place to go for that because you don't want them to outshine someone like Dr. Loomis. The same goes for the parents. Now, we don't even know who the mum is in real life in the Halloween movie in 1978. To this day, I don't think anybody knows who that woman is. We know who the dad is. I can't remember his name. But the mum is not famous, and I still don't know who plays the mum. And I don't even think they mentioned who the mum was. So somebody or people unknown to play Michael Myers' parents is a good way to go. But if you're going to be building a show around Michael and his family, then you're going to have to get competent actors to play his parents because they're not going to be in it for a minute or two like they were in the first film, not even a minute. So you need to get people with speaking parts, so you need to get competent actors. Should they be known? I don't know. I think if you can get competent actors that are not too well known, again, it doesn't take the shine off of people who you want to really concentrate on, unless you want to concentrate on the mum and dads. And if you want to concentrate on the mum and dads, then maybe get actors that are really good. But as a TV show at the end of the day, it's not going to be a masterpiece. So I think the concentration needs to be on characters like Michael and Dr. Loomis, because those characters I would assume would be the main focus. Now, those four, including Dr. Loomis 5, those characters won't be the only ones in this show. I'm guessing that they'll introduce new characters, new teenagers to go after. Maybe Judith Myers won't die in this. Maybe Judith Myers will be an adult with a kid of her own that Michael Myers will come after. Maybe that will be the sibling aspect, so he doesn't have to come after his long-lost sister in Laurie Strode. Maybe Judith Myers won't die. He'll go into a mental asylum, and then 15 years later he'll come out and try and get revenge and finish what he started in killing Judith Myers. And Judith Myers will obviously be a little bit older. She'll be in her early 30s, so he could come after her. And that it could be adult-centric. Maybe there'll be no teenagers. So depending on how this story goes, also depends on how you're going to cast the cast, because you could employ lots of teenagers for Michael to kill, or it could be a more mature storyline where he comes after his big sister, who's 30, 31 years old, and he comes after her, maybe her partner. Maybe they've got young kids as well that Michael didn't get to see, and he's jealous. So there's so many ways you can go with this if they change the story up as well. I think it would be interesting to see Michael come after his sister, Judith Myers, 15 years later, because he tries to finish what he started in 1963. You could even go that little bit further ahead into the 80s, where Judith Myers is old enough to have a 17-year-old daughter that Michael comes after as well. Maybe he comes after his niece, who is 17, but it's his direct niece this time, not someone from a distant family. So you could have Michael come after Judith being still alive in her late 30s, early 40s, and then he comes after her daughter as well, tries to kill her. It doesn't have to be a girl, it could be his 17-year-old nephew he comes after. So the possibilities are endless if you start with certain points of the Halloween film from 1978. So it doesn't have to be about Laurie. It doesn't have to be set 15 years later in 1978. Maybe the groundwork could be laid from 1963, and then you take it from there. So what are your thoughts on that, guys? What are your thoughts on the casting? Who do you think they should cast for specific roles in this show? And where do you think they'll take it from the original Halloween movie? Will they take aspects of 1978? Will they take characters from 1978? Or do you think they should maybe start from the ground up from 1963 and take it from there? Who knows? Leave your comments down below, guys. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.
Meeting adjourned.
Be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?